So, Lindsay, you are a legend in sports reporting and you now have a new podcast coming out. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you. It is the connection, the intersection really of sports and music. So it is an episode, each episode is basically a conversation between, a big name athlete, big name musician. And it's a concept that I have been really fascinated by for a long time. And I really wanted to do this because in my travels and covering sports and being around musicians that would come into Sports Center from time to time, I just became really obsessed with the process and how similar those two worlds really are. So this is that opportunity finally to do that and to put these people together. And what has been so cool is to see these pairings come together, and it's actually like yielded for me really great therapy as well as like just the things that they talk about. A lot of times, I'll go into an interview the same way I would another conversation, although that preparation has become much different for me now also. This is very much a challenge for me in journalism. But it's, we go in with the thought process of here's what we're most likely going to hit on, and inevitably, it goes a different direction that I didn't even expect. And really hearing what these people connect about and what they find relatable with each other is just, it's so eye-opening. And I truly, I love it because I think that there's a lot of good that can come out of hearing these people talk about this. Like there are these different things. I think that there are a lot of ways that it can impact people in a positive way.
It's incredible. And what initially made you think of this idea? Because you said you were fascinated for a long time.
So I can pinpoint the first interview that I did where I was like, oh, this is a format that I want to do more of. I didn't know when that would be, but NASCAR great Dale Earnhardt Jr. was racing. I think it was in Michigan. I was covering that race, and he's a huge fan of what's now the Washington football team. And I was living in Washington covering sports in that town at the same time. And so I got the tight end for Washington, Chris Cooley, to go to the racetrack with me and sit down with Dale and his motor coach. And that was slightly different because it was two athletes, but the concept is the same. And when we sat there, I just saw this level of like interest and excitement in both of them. And I remember at one point watching, and Dale was like tapping his hands on the table. And I'm this is magic right now, because I feel like I am in this conversation watching them. I don't even feel like I'm even here. Like at that point, I was just kind of backing out, like jumping in where I needed to, but they were just vibing in a way about life and about their journeys and about like, their families away from racing and football in a way that I hadn't seen. So that's really the moment when I thought, okay, this is something to file away that I would just love to do. And I remember being at Sports Center there, there were a few interviews that we were trying to, oh, wouldn't it be cool to get this person with this person? And so it's always been on my radar. It's just really cool to be able to do it, and honestly to do it with a partner like Sony, who is so versed in the music world. That's been awesome.
That's incredible. I never would have thought of that. And I love thinking of creative collaborations. That one never would have entered my mind. So
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
really impressed. I'm very impressed with that.
Thank you. That's so nice.
And what would you say was the biggest challenge about getting this off the ground?
I mean, getting people to say yes, like, and all of it, there's, we truly do have such a great team. And I think that it takes a lot of different pieces, like from okay, what are we going to call this, to we know what the concept is, but the research that goes into each one of these, is my producer Carter, who we talk about this all the time. He's like, it's not only like you're doing this with one person who's hard to get, but we've got two, and that's two of everything. It's two of the research. It's, from my perspective, my role here, it's like the research that goes into it is different for me. Like I've got to figure out, I've got to know everything I can know about these two people, but also we need to really flesh out what we think are the connecting points. And maybe we're wrong. Like, and that reveals itself in a conversation. But also one of the hardest things is when I'm in the conversation journalistically, it's like, I could ask Eddie Vedder 10 million things that I would want to know about Eddie Vedder, and the same goes for the person that we paired him with, the star of the Cubs, Anthony Rizzo. But really, the conversation is only going to yield the kind of magic that we believe in when we're focusing on the things that make them excited to be together. So it's not traditional, you know what I mean? And when I was at Sports Center, there's an interview guru that we used to use, and he would hold seminars there for everybody who was on air and producers behind the scenes. And I remember one time talking to him about an interview I was doing with two athletes, and he was like, you have to stay on the topics that connect them. And it's so hard because sometimes you're like, yeah, but I really want to know why he wrote Alive, or like, you know what I mean? It's like this natural urging that you want to hear. But I called him before this project started, and I was like, I just want to pick your brain because we're about to start this. I'm sitting down with Danica Patrick and Alanis, and here's what I'm thinking. And he said, oh, I've got to tell you, this is a great idea. He goes, this is either going to be amazing or it's going to fail miserably. And I was like, and he's right, because if you go down the path of talking to these people, like, look, they can give great explanations on a topic and it can be really interesting. But if we leave our listeners hearing Ray Lewis talk for 4 minutes about something, and then Kirk Franklin, who's his pairing, out of that conversation, that's not what we've set out to do, right? So it's a fine balance of what's the concept, sticking to that concept, finding out what people are really hungry for, and delivering that in a way that also speaks to different genres and different fan bases. That was a much longer answer than you wanted. I'm sorry.
No, I love the long answers because I love hearing the passion in your voice and how excited you are about this project. It just makes me
Thanks.
so happy to hear. And what would you say was your favorite interview you've done so far for the podcast?
Ooh, that's so hard. Honestly, it's because they feel like they're all your babies. I can't, there truly is not one that has been my favorite because they've all been so different, honestly. Like they're so different. But what I have really appreciated is some of them are like hoot and hollering conversations. Like that's the bucket I would put Eddie Vedder and Anthony Rizzo in. Like there was just so much fun fandom and energy in that one. There are other ones that truly feel like therapy. And so I will say that the one that probably impacted me the most was sitting with Danica Patrick and Alanis Morissette, because they were digging up things in me that I was like, whoa, why do I need to sit down for an hour after this conversation? Because they're in a different plane right now in their lives, and they're both uber successful, but they're both very much in like a reflective unpacking the trauma that they both talk about that they went through. So that was one that was like, whoa, it was a lot more than I expected that came out of it. And listening to it over and over when we were making the edits really revealed that to me. So they've all had little pieces of entertainment, I think, and also yielded things that I didn't know about the people that we're talking to, which is really cool.
And what would be your dream pairing to have?
I mean, I grew up listening to my dad and really both my parents play the Eagles music. So I have said this, and I know I shouldn't say it because it's the most impossible thing ever, because it probably will never happen, but I will not let the dream die. It would be one of the Eagles. Don Henley would be someone that I would love to get and pair him with. Honestly, Nick Saban would be a dream pairing with those two. But beyond that, I also think I would love to pair Serena Williams with someone, like Serena and Adele, or someone huge, like, just pairings like that. But there's a lot that goes into figuring out who you're going to go for. So it's also like a lot of these people that we decide to drill down on and say like, okay, I want to talk to this person. We rediscover a lot, going through that process too. So I don't know.
Well, it's out in the universe now, so
There it
fingers
is.
crossed it'll happen.
Yeah.
I would love to see that too. So fingers crossed.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Fingers, toes,
Yeah.
everything.
I am absolutely loving the concept of the show. I can't wait to see more and more episodes. But one thing I like to ask the people I interview is, tell me a fun fact about yourself that might surprise your fans.
Oh, that's a fun question. I jumped out of an airplane. That might not be that entertaining. A fun fact is one of my goals in life is to catch a sand shark.
Oh, wow. That's a new one. I like that.
Yeah, that's it. So that's true. Like I and my brother and I have a standing bet that, what a sand shark is. It's like one of those baby sharks. I love fishing.
Yes.
I love fishing. And so we joke about that because he's caught one and I have not. And so since the time that I was like 7 and I grew up fishing in the summer with my dad at the beach, that has been something that I have not been able to do.
Well, it will happen. We will put it out in
There
the
you go.
universe
Yeah.
as well. Yes. So are you to ever go back to just straight sports journalism, or is just a podcast your baby now?
Oh, I mean, this is definitely my baby, but absolutely, like I love the sideline reporting that I'm doing, and I absolutely love the opportunities I get to host and to anchor and do things like that. So I've got a couple projects that are coming up this summer that I'll be doing back in that role. And yeah, I look forward to more of what I've been doing with that and the covering the NFL, more of that to come as well. So yes, that's what makes
And
the wheel turn, like I've learned that it's doing all of the things I think really helps inform the other. I really believe that. And when I was anchoring at Sports Center and ESPN, my reporting that I was able to do, I always have felt that way. If you can do a little bit of both, it just really strengthens you in your craft, because you always know what you're talking about, but you know it in a more intimate way, and that's what I'm also seeing with this podcast. It makes a big difference if I can sit in a room with Luke Kuechly, and I know what I'm talking about because I've been around him the past year covering him in his domain. That's a lot of these ideas of who I want to talk to are born from stories that I hear in meetings when I'm covering the NFL, getting ready to cover a game, and I will like keep a list of, oh my God, I've got, this is never something that will come out on Sunday. But pardon me, as I'm sitting here, my, hello, can you tell Gloria? No, I'm not picking up Sibby. I'm in the middle of an interview.
So she's going to come back here before dance?
Yes. Thank you so much. Sorry.
it's okay. It happens,
Mom life.
It's quite all right. I'm here sitting here with two cats. I'm actually surprised I haven't been jumping up into camera.
Oh my God.
So
Heart
it
failure when you
happens.
realize it's time to pick up your child. Anyway, yeah. So where were we? Yeah. So anyway, I truly, that has helped me figure out this scenario too. And a lot of ideas will be born from like me hearing something or talking to a player and they reference something. And that's how I know about some of these connecting points that I think wouldn't be so obvious otherwise.
And who would be your dream athlete to interview that you haven't already interviewed?
I mean, that's really hard. In this kind of setting, LeBron James, I would just love to have a long amount of time to just sit and talk about like everything he's passionate about. And that, it includes a lot that has to do with social justice, but also just his story, and how he's made it. I think he's someone that is probably like a Captain Obvious reply, but besides that, Lindsay Vaughn is someone that I really respect, and as a female, I think that I would love to hear from her and talk to her about the level of competition that she's put in, and also about redefining yourself. That's something that I love talking to women. I find with female athletes, and maybe it's because there seems to be more of a shelf life with those sports that are more commonly female sports. A lot of the women that I've interviewed, it's like, damn, they have completely reinvented themselves and are now moving into like Danica Patrick 2.0, which is this total entrepreneur. And it's similar in a lot of ways to other athletes out there. I think that's a really cool theme, is like how we as women kind of tend to do that anyway. So, yes.
Yeah, they're both of them are incredible women, and I can't wait to see what they do next. So there's so many good ones out there.
Yes.
So many good ones. But since we're a TV site as well, what are you watching on TV these days?
Oh, The Servant. We're watching. Well, so that's on. What is it on? Oh God, now I'm not. Is that on Netflix? I forget what it's on.
They all run together after a while. So.
Yeah, so we've been watching that because my husband and I love to watch horror stuff, scary stuff. Nice. So The Servant is M. Night Shyamalan, how are you saying his name? That, as well as I am binging Bridgerton, as well as The Crown, as well as This Is Us. And I love A Million Little Things. So I've definitely got my genres, but The Servant is one right now that we're like, okay, yes, we have to watch 2 more episodes tonight because it's so creepy. We love it.
Yeah, well, if you like creepy and horror, you should check out my brother's also a journalist. You should check out his podcast. It's called B Movie Bros. They cover a lot of horror stuff.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to check that out. I totally will.
Yeah.
I would love to vibe with him on some of that stuff too and hear what he
Yeah.
thinks are his favorites. I just love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll definitely talk to you. He's a great guy, my brother. So he's also my roommate. So
Oh, so cool. Ask
yeah,
him
we're
what
very close.
his favorite scary movie is.
I will. I will. I'm not with him now, but I will definitely
Okay.
ask him. He'll tell you. He'll tell you. And since you and your husband are both in the journalism field, are you ever going to collaborate on maybe hosting a show together?
That has been a dream of ours for a long time, honestly. We met at our TV station in Washington, D.C. And when we first started like our love affair, right, of like figuring out, okay, wait, who are you? We actually were shooting a pilot together for that station. So look, I would love it. I think, he's my favorite co-host. So I think that it would be so much fun to do that with him in some capacity. It intrigues me to think about what that could be, or like what kind of show we would have, or what kind of thing. I think sometimes the magic is just in knowing someone so well, right? So there could be a lot of different directions to go. Yes, it'd be really fun.
Well, since he does today, maybe you could do what you were talking about before, talking to the athletes about social justice issues and stuff like that. And you can go back and forth on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, for sure. There's so many important things to talk about now.
They really are. And, I've been watching you both for years. You're both heroes of mine. So this has been a
Oh,
real
thank
honor for
you.
me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that you're in one of my favorite states also.
Oh, very nice. Like I said, you guys, if you're ever in Pittsburgh, there's a lasagna with your name on it.
I love it. All right. Thank you.
No problem. And where can we follow your podcast on social media?
You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, social media. You can follow. I'll post a lot about it, include the links on at Lindsay CZ is my Instagram. Also putting some clips up on YouTube from the episodes too, that are always fun to watch. It's fun to see that different perspective of it as well. So yes, you can find it everywhere that you normally get your podcasts.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you in person.
Likewise, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Dom.
Bye, guys. Thank
Sammy.
you so much.
Bye.